In the beginning, the All-Wise created everything from nothing. He created the world. He created the fields, the forests, the mountains, the valleys, the seas, and the stars. The All-Wise also created the birds of the air, the beasts of the land, and the fish of the sea. Then the All-Wise created the 5 races to do his bidding. First, he created the race of angels. Then he created the race of dragons. Finally, he created the race of man, elf, and dwarf in his own image to inherit the world that he had created. The All-Wise looked upon all the things that he had created and saw that they were good, and he was glad. But soon his happiness would turn to grief, for his own creation would soon turn against him. The Archangel, the king of the angels, grew more lustful for power, and he desired to usurp the All-Wise. So he gathered together all those who would follow him and said, "Come, let us cast down this being, and let us rule in his stead." 1/3 of the heavenly host followed him, and there was battle in heaven. Billions upon billions fought one another amongst the stars, and in the end, the deceiver, for that is what the angel was called afterwards, was cast down out of heaven. The All-Wise stripped him of all his power and of his beauty, and sent him wandering down upon the world in the dark places. And the All-Wise said to the deceiver, "Never again shall you enter heaven, and with thy actions thou have damned thyself and all those that follow you. May you be accursed for all time, for you have rebelled against me, your creator." And so the deceiver wandered in agony and torment, for he was doomed forever by the All-Wise words, and he knew it. He knew he had been the one to bring his own judgment down upon him, and he knew there was no returning to the glory and splendor he once had. But then, one day while he was wandering, he saw the ones whom the All-Wise had given the world, men, elves, and dwarves. And then a truly terrible idea came to his mind. Through these little beings, he said to himself, "I shall have vengeance on the All-Wise by corrupting them and turning them away from him." And so the deceiver transformed himself into a fair being and walked among all 3 races, and he befriended them and told them stories and sang them beautiful songs, and they listened to him. And all the while the hatred that the deceiver felt for them grew and grew and grew. He saw the races of men dwelling by the coasts of the sea. He saw the kindred of elves living in fair forests and green pastures. And he saw the clans of dwarves living in valleys and fair woods. He was jealous over their beauty and lusted for their happiness, but knew he was condemned never to feel any of these things again. So he contented himself with the idea of corrupting the 3 races so thoroughly that not even the All-Wise would look upon them with favor. And that thought, amongst all else, gave him strength to endure his damnation. But he knew that the All-Wise was watching him, for no one could escape his gaze. The deceiver wondered why the All-Wise did nothing to stop or prevent him from corrupting the 3 races of men, elves, and dwarves. He did not know that the All-Wise was using him to test the 3 kindreds to see if they would remain loyal to him. And so the deceiver continued to seduce men, elves, and dwarves, and began to plant seeds of doubt in their minds. The deceiver lied to them and told them that he was an emissary of the All-Wise. He told them that the All-Wise had given him power and authority over them, and that he was their new king. The 3 races had no cause to doubt his words, for they knew nothing of lies and deceit. So they welcomed him and honored him as their new king. Then they cried out in one voice, "Praise be to the All-Wise, who has given us a ruler." The deceiver also feigned worship, but his heart was black with hate. The deceiver gathered all of the strongest of the three races and said, "Come, I shall show you smithcraft and metallurgy, and you shall learn to make tools from iron, steel, copper, and bronze." And so he taught them everything he knew about these things, and the three races grew skilled in smithcraft. They did not know the deceiver was teaching them to make swords. They had no concept of weapons of any kind, for they had never needed them, for they were peaceful and loving towards one another, and never quarreled. Had they known what these tools were truly for, they would have cast them back into their forging fires and never touched metal again. But alas, they were ignorant, and the deceiver watched them forge these weapons with black joy brewing in his heart. Through cunning subtlety, the deceiver separated the three races, and they grew distant and apart from each other. And when this was done, the deceiver began to spread lies between them. He told the races of men that they were the All-Wise's favorite, and that the other two races would serve them. The deceiver repeated this lie to the elven kindreds as well, and to the clans of the dwarves. Each race believed that it was the favorite child of the All-Wise, and the deceiver watched as rivalries grew between them. And he laughed. Then the deceiver said to himself, "Now I shall cause them to kill one another, and to forget the All-Wise, and my revenge against him shall be complete." The deceiver appeared before each race and told them that they were no longer the favorite of the All-Wise, and that the other races were now in his favor. The three races were bewildered and angered by this news, and the deceiver saw this, and he said, "Go, take up your tools, and use them against your enemies." And to the everlasting shame of man, elf, and dwarf, they did just that. For the first time since the beginning of the world, there was battle on Earth, and the ground was stained red with blood. The friendships that once existed between the three races were utterly forgotten, and now were replaced only by jealousy and hate. Thousands died in droves, and thousands more died of their wounds. The battle seemed endless to all those who fought, and victory was nowhere in sight for either side. And whilst the armies of man, elf, and dwarf slaughtered each other, the deceiver looked on, and he laughed. Then he turned his face towards heaven, and he screamed, "Behold, you All-Wise, I have killed your children. They are no longer yours, but mine, and I shall do with them as I see fit." The All-Wise looked down upon the once perfect and beautiful creation, and he saw, to his horror, the thousands of dead. He saw the three races killing each other over insults and rivalries that simply did not exist, and he saw many among them who reveled in their killing, and who took joy in slaughtering those who could not defend themselves. The All-Wise looked on as his creation was marred and ruined, and he wept. Then he commanded the three races to stop fighting, but they did not listen to him, and they continued their killing. They had turned their backs on the All-Wise and had forgotten him, and now followed only the deceiver. This is how the world fell. And hello once again, audience. Well, I hope you enjoyed part 2. Part 3 is coming. It's going to take me a little while, guys, but I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Peace out. Until next time.